Welcome to the latest edition of the Cracky Curmudgeon's Corner. My name is Paul Thomas, and this session we are going to be discussing transgender issues. Joining us tonight, Jack Finkenbinder, Eric Moses, and Whitney Brooks. As transgender willingness to be publicly open and out of the closet emerges, the biggest difficulty people of decency encountered with this emergence, we talked about it earlier, is the issue of pronouns. Trust me when I say that I do not want to be disrespectful to anyone's gender identity, and I am willing to be educated on new terms and protocols to avoid disrespect. But I am stuck with the he, she, they, or it when three of those four possibilities can not only be wrong, but insulting. I truly don't know what to do. Help me out here. I'm trying to be polite, but if I am not given the particular preference beforehand, I have a 75% chance of getting it wrong. What is the answer to the pronoun dilemma? Now, I understand that the English language grammar is very deficient when it comes to singular and plural pronouns. That's why we in Pittsburgh talk about yints all the time when we're talking about more than just one of them. And why the people down south say y'all instead of saying you, because there's more than one. But if we talk about an individual using the term they, that confuses the hell out of me. So, Merrick, what do I do about
that? Pronouns. Just for the record, the use of the term they for one person has been around for a long time in the English language, and language evolves.
Well, I haven't been aware of that though. So I was always they was always more than one. But
I
go
used
ahead.
to I used to teach grammar back in the day. That being said, I think that if you're not sure about the pronouns, just ask the person, what are your preferred pronouns? I'm personally, I don't want people to ask me my pronouns. I believe that it is self-evident who I am, and if you have a problem with that, then we have a problem. But I just suggest that people ask people their pronouns, or another way is to say, "Well, hi, my name is X, and these are my pronouns," which may prompt somebody to actually give their pronouns. That's another way to do it subtly. I think that just being mindful and telling and just emphasizing to the person, I'm just trying to be mindful, I just want you to feel comfortable. But I personally am not a fan of that. Also, just for the record, there are many other pronouns outside of he, she, they. There's something called neopronouns. I won't get into it. Please look it up. But there's a lot of ways that people are playing with the language. Again, for myself, don't ask me my pronouns because they're self-evident. That's how I feel.
Okay, that's very that's a good way to approach it. I believe, which doesn't really alleviate my confusion anymore that much. But let's just move on. Okay, Jack. Do you have a particular pronoun that you espouse to, or do you feel any animosity towards anybody that doesn't get it right, or where do you set on this whole pronoun issue?
Well, I had trouble. Well, I mean, I had identity troubles for a while. But I found just over time, I just started live and let live kind of mentality. I was like, I don't really care what I go by anymore. I still have kind of, well, like I said, it's kind of on a month to month basis. I'll like feel a little different one day and I'll feel different the next day and I'll be like, I kind of prefer this one day, but not this the other day. I always ask, or I don't usually tell people what I like to go by. I just let them assume whatever, and I'm usually fine with that. But I'm kind of weird. I'm
No,
not. I'm
you're
not.
no, you're very cool about it.
Yeah,
If
I'm
you
not.
just live
I'm
and let
not.
live, that's
Yeah, I'm not every trans person ever. I'm just living. I'm just living day by day. So I don't really care that much, but I do still tend to ask other people if I don't get it by social cues, I'll ask someone, "Hey, what do you go by? What do you prefer to be known as? What's your name? What's your name? Not your birth name. What do you want to be called?" And that usually clears up any confusion. If I get it wrong, then I'm like, "Hey, punch me if I get your pronouns wrong, okay?"
Right. Or I apologize beforehand if I get it wrong. Yeah.
Yeah.
Whitney, do you ever had any problems with the pronouns issue?
Well, I just want to start off by saying that while I am a member of the LGBTQ community, I am not transgender. I'm a cisgender woman. So take what I say with a grain of salt, and I will always defer to what I don't want to necessarily speak on behalf of another community that I'm not a part of. So I'm just going to answer this in the way that I understand it, but I always deflect to the experiences of the people in that community. First off, I want to say, I was really like through your question. Don't use it. Just don't take that out of your list of options.
I've heard it. I've heard it used though. I've heard people. I've heard the pronoun use it. I've seen it.
Okay, well,
I agree because it's yeah.
So I would never ever tell someone else how to identify. So if that's how somebody wants to be addressed, then respect that. But I think it's probably safe to assume that most of the community probably does not probably would find it extremely insulting. It's very dehumanizing, and you should just take that out of your list of options until someone corrects you. Okay. The other thing, I loved what Merrick said about normalizing pronouns by when you introduce yourself, you offer up your own pronouns. That's why I have mine. If you look in my video, I have mine next to my name. I have it next to my email signature and all of my in my professional environment. It's on my name tag. I put it everywhere because I think the more that we as cis people normalize the use of it, then it just won't be as big of a deal. It'll just be part of everyday life. And then lastly, I want to say that as I understand it, this is how it's been explained to me. I mean, you're gonna mess up. It's gonna happen, and it's just part of life. So when it happens, just apologize, correct yourself, and move on. You don't have to make a big deal out of it. You don't have to apologize profusely. Just oh, sorry, correct yourself, move on, and just that's it.
If they see that you are in good faith, not trying to be disrespectful, then I think they're gonna accept that as the respectful thing to do.
That's as I understand it. That's the impression I get as
that would be my hope.
Yes.
Okay, sports and bathrooms seem to be a big tool in the anti-trans toolbox. How should those arguments be addressed? I'm dating myself now, but back whenever I was in high school, there was a doctor. I think his name was Richard Ruskin, and he had a sex change operation and became Renee Richards, Dr. Renee Richards. But he was a professional tennis player on the male circuit, and then he started competing. He had to go to court to get permission to do that. He started competing as a female tennis player and was smoking a lot of the professional female tennis players. And so that became an issue back then. And it seems to be a big issue, even though the word is there's only 100 trans athletes who want to compete as women. But it seems to be raising a lot of hackles there among the Republicans. Who's that? Haley from South Carolina. I forget her name. Anyway, it seems to be. I'm sorry.
Nikki Haley.
Nikki Haley. There you go. She seems to be making a big deal out of that. So, Merrick, how do we deal with this? The bathroom as well as the sports.
Well, in regards to the bathroom, we have been using the bathroom with cisgender people forever. My concern is this. So when people don't fit someone's perceived gender, that's when the trouble begins. And so we're starting to see people, particularly biological women, cisgender women, going into bathrooms, short hair, maybe dressed in sweatpants, looking quote unquote boyish, if that's a thing, and being harassed by other women in the bathroom. There's actually video of someone of an older woman asking a younger woman, what her pronouns are. Is she a girl? Show me all that, right? And so, of course, that's disgusting, and that's perverted. Why? Who's proving what to who? Um, so that's a problem. That being said, we've been in the bathrooms forever, and it's not gonna stop. Um, as far as the sports stuff is concerned, um, I think that a lot of that has to do with whether someone has gone through biological puberty or not. I am also aware of cisgender women, particularly there's a runner from South Africa who has a very high level of testosterone in her body. That's how she was born. However, they want the International Olympic Committee wanted her to take medication to lower her natural testosterone, which she objected to because this is like who she is. It's she's not taking no shots. This is who she is. My concern is that if one has gone through male puberty and then decides to transition from male to female, how does that, and then does take, and then participates in a competitive sport, does this person have an advantage? I would say it's person to person, right? As a person who does possess a female body but who is a man, um and knowing the challenges that female body people face, I think that this is a worthy question that should be dealt with by doctors and medical personnel and not by yahoos and widows in Congress looking for their next dime and dollar from their ignorant voters. And I think that the tone of this debate around sports has made it very dangerous, particularly for trans women. Notice, I want people to notice the misandry and misogyny. We're not talking about trans men in these spaces because there are trans men who do play sports with cisgender men, but you don't hear about that. You always hear about women. I think a lot of this fascination around trans women in sports has to do with the fascination around transgender women in general and the perceived and the perception that cisgender heterosexual people have around how could this person give up their male privilege to be a woman, and the fascination and anger that stirs up in people. And instead of talking about people's angst around someone's own bodily autonomy, we're getting into sports. Because why? Again, the lack of intellectual curiosity truncates the argument, right? Once you start using, I don't know, 6-letter words, people's heads explode. So we really need to understand a lot of this is driven by ignorance, purposeful ignorance, and that until we can get a nuanced view that's based on science and not people's feelings, we're going to have this problem.
Okay, Jack, you have any issues with the bathroom and the sports thing? I don't think you've really had that much of a problem, have you?
No, I did participate in sports when I was in school when I was still figuring myself out. I That's actually how I well, my coaches were really nice, so I guess I kind of got things handed to me on a little bit of a silver platter. And they were fine with me being referred to as Jack on the team and all that. I still participated in my sports as a female athlete, which was fine. I didn't really mind too much. But I know if I were any different, then I would probably have wanted to participate as on the male side of things. I don't know how to address the sports argument. I've tried to figure it out. I don't know. I've discussed it with a lot of different people, and I can never really come to a full conclusion of how to address that. For the bathrooms, public bathrooms are open places. Anybody can go in at any time. Men
That's the
can
way
go
I
in
feel
at
too.
any time.
Yeah.
Men can
If
go
you
in at
want,
any time.
if you want privacy, have a
Women can go
stall.
in at any time.
Yeah.
Dogs can go in at any time. I don't know.
Yeah.
Moose can come in at any time. They have. I've seen it. I swear. Yeah, no. Anybody can go in at any time. That's all.
As far as the sports, I don't think I'm with you, Jack. I don't have the answer either. But the bathrooms is really not an issue. Just go in and close the stall and do your thing and come back out. Wash your hands when you're done. Okay, Whitney, do you have anything to add about this discussion on bathrooms and sports?
Yes, but before I answer this question, there's a couple things that I want to touch on because I think they're really important. I want to go back to the pronouns discussion just for a minute because I remembered something else that I wanted to say.
Okay.
So Paul, so you likely use the singular they all the time and don't even realize it.
What's
So-
singular about they?
Well, listen, so say that you are walking down the street and you find a phone on the ground. You pick it up and you would say, oh, someone dropped their phone, not,
Right.
oh, he or she dropped his or her phone. Like it's really clunky language like that. And so you, without even realizing it, switch to a singular they, and it happens all the time.
I didn't switch to a singular they. I said someone, and that's a singular.
No,
I
no.
didn't use
Someone
your
dropped
they.
their phone, not someone dropped his or her phone. You're talking about one person losing one possession. You
Okay,
say
yeah.
someone dropped
The
their phone.
adjective, yes. The
Yeah, so
adjective
things like
there,
that happen
yes.
all the time and you don't even realize it. And
Mhm.
so it just takes a little bit of effort to try to change your thinking and the way that you speak, or like I said, if you mess up, just apologize, correct yourself, and move on. But I just wanted to point that out, that
Okay, thank you.
yeah. The other thing that I wanted to say was, so when you were talking about like Renee Richards, I just want to say that as I understand it, the best practices when you were talking about somebody who is transgender and has like undergone transition, you should always use their preferred name and not their dead name. It's a dead name for a reason. And so if you were referring to a time before the transition, you should still use. So like, let's say we're talking about Caitlyn Jenner, okay?
Okay,
And you want to talk about her Olympic career before she transitioned. You would
Right.
still refer to her as Caitlyn and not her dead name.
Bruce.
And yeah, exactly. So, I mean, it is a dead name for a reason. We just leave that behind and we just don't even talk about it. We use the name now and the pronouns now and all of that, even when we're referring to a time pre-transition. That is, like I said, best practice as I understand it. So
Okay.
put that out there. As far as the bathroom situation goes, I don't know, it's ridiculous. There are unisex bathrooms all over the place. I remember when I was 18, I went to Europe and I was in a train station in France, and I walked in and there were men and women, all people in the same bathroom. And I was like, oh, and then moved on. It really, I mean, it was like a little bit of a culture shock, but like, again, like you said, you go in, you do your business, wash your hands and leave. It really is that simple. And I think that like, it is way more awkward to try to force people to use the bathroom that they don't identify with. Like, let's say that you have a transgender man who is extremely muscular and has like a ton of facial hair and just like very masculine presenting, and it's very clear that this person is a man. They like let's say they pass, for lack of a better word. So wouldn't it be weirder to force that person to use the women's bathroom than to just let them use the men's bathroom if that's what they want to use? I mean, I don't know. I think the whole bathroom situation is ridiculous. And just shouldn't even be an issue. But and then as far as sports go, I don't know. I mean, I don't know that there's a good answer to it right now, but I think, like Merrick said, it's something that should be decided by medical professionals and experts in the field and not random yahoos on the internet. And also, as I understand it, as someone who has not gone through HRT or transitioned, your body changes when you go through those things. And there, is an argument to be made that a lot of whatever advantages there were can be lost or diminished in that transition period. And in addition to that, when you're talking about advantages over people, I feel like there's like, I think it's a silly argument to make, because people naturally have different physical advantages over each other. Like, I was reading an article earlier when I was like trying to prepare for this discussion about how like in fencing, people who are left-handed apparently have some kind of advantage over people who are right-handed. And I mean, how is that different? I mean, some people are just naturally born with their bodies in a way that makes them more suited to a specific activity or sport. And I don't think that you can really distinguish between those things, if that makes sense.
Well, it's hard. It's a hard topic. Okay, there's been this very serious uptick recently in the passage of anti-trans bans and gender-affirming care legislation in many red state legislatures. I usually don't listen much to fascist speech making, but even so, I haven't heard any reasons why this onslaught has become necessary. What do you think they're afraid of, Jack? I don't know if Alaska has had any anti-trans legislation, but boy, there has been a whole bunch of other anti-trans laws passed in many other states, like Merrick said, below the Mason-Dixon line and out west. Montana, I think, just came up with a big one. What do you think they're afraid of?
Well, firstly, I think they're afraid of people being happy. But also, we have a law in Alaska, and I don't know what the actual name is, but I just call it the Don't Ask, Don't Tell law. And basically, it is what it says. You don't have to tell anyone about anything. And you don't get to ask anyone about anything that they don't feel comfortable sharing. So, yeah. uh, I, I don't know. They're just afraid of people being happy because they're not, I guess.
So Alaska's pretty much staying pretty neutral over that.
Well, yeah, kind of.
Somewhat, yeah.
Yeah, we have laws in place there, but I hope they don't go away anytime soon, but they look like they're staying for now.
Yeah. Okay, Whitney, what do you think they're afraid of? These state legislatures in the red states that are passing all these anti-trans laws.
I don't think it's a matter of fear. Like I said, I think it's about oppression and power, and this group in particular is vulnerable, largely in part because these people, like these, lawmakers in red states and the people who are using fear-mongering tactics have made them vulnerable. And I don't think it's about fear. I think it's about just oppression and power, like I said earlier.
Merrick, bullying, oppression, not something that they're afraid of, but something that they just want to impose. Is that your take on it?
Well, they are doing this because they have no agenda to help the American people. They have none. Remember that during 2020, in their fiasco of a presidential campaign, they didn't even have a platform. They had no platform, and they still have no platform. They have no answers for the American people. So what do they have to do? They have to create a distraction, and marginalized people are really easily used for that purpose, and LGBTQ people, we're the low hanging fruit, right? We're the low hanging fruit. Let's get the apples near the bottom of the tree, right? In their minds. So you have that. And then at the end of the day, let's be real. A lot of these fanatical, extremist, evangelical lawmakers have a very weird obsession with sex and genitalia. For instance, I think this happened in Arkansas. So there was a trans woman who's a pharmacist who was there to testify on against a ban against gender affirming care for minors. And so she identified herself as a trans physician, and she tried to explain how she helps her patients, right? So the lawmaker out of his mouth asked her, "Do you have a penis?" She's not here to talk about nobody body parts. And of course she was shocked, she was disgusted, and she was hurt. My thing to that legislator is, he said that because he's obsessed with it. He said that because he's been probably porned out for the past, I don't know, 10 years. You see what I'm saying? Why are you asking this stranger about her genitalia? Because he is a pervert. Remember, GOP stands for Group of Perverts. You've got to be a pervert if you are talking to this woman who's here to testify about her work with children, and you want to go in her pants. See, this is the stuff that I'm talking about. Their weird obsession with sex, their weird obsession with people's genitalia and trying to control how people have sex is unseemly and disgusting. And it needs to be called out.
And let's not forget Marjorie Taylor Greene showing nude photos of Hunter Biden on the floor of Congress. Yeah.
Oh, was that after she had broke up her marriage after having sex with a tantric sex guru? Is this the person who claims she's a Christian nationalist? See, this is exactly what I'm talking about. How do you disgrace Congress by showing clear pornography? Why is that acceptable? But we're the problem. You see what I'm saying? Every accusation they have is actually confession to their own perversion.
Yeah. Okay, the fascist forces in place are making it tougher at this time for the entire LGBTQ plus set to function as fully enfranchised citizens. But there is also a strong movement of resistance, I'm seeing it in this room here, to their institutionalized bigotry. Given the landscape in which you live, who do you think is winning this war? Whitney, who's winning? The bigots or the people who care about the rights of everybody? From where you sit.
From where I sit, I think it may seem like the bigots are winning. It might come off that way. But I think when it comes to the long run and the long game, like, progressives are always going to progress. It's about moving forward. And, more and more people are understanding and accepting things as they are and as they should be. I mean, I don't know if there's always going to be people that are kind of left behind, but the party of progressives is always going to progress. And the conservatives are always going to be on the wrong side of history, like they always have been. And so I don't know, while I certainly hope to see it in my lifetime, I don't know that it'll happen, but I think that the war, as it were, will be won by
us.
Yeah, I just don't know when.
Okay, Merrick, you are a passionate warrior in this fight as well as many others. Um, how do you see the battle framing up as far as who's winning at this stage? And are you like Whitney, a believer that in the end we're going to win in the final outcome?
I have to agree with Whitney. We will win in the end, but I also know that there will be casualties along the way. I want to shout out Governor Westmore of the great state of Maryland for making Maryland a sanctuary state for transgender people. There are people literally fleeing from all parts of the country, especially our cousins further down the Mason-Dixon. So, I mean, looking at Maryland as the northernmost southern state, I'm very happy that we have decided to stand on the side of right. That being said, that being said, there will be casualties, and there are casualties of this war on LGBTQ people, particularly against trans, queer, and gender non-conforming people. That is happening right now. We're looking at people being denied health care. I mean, and I'm not talking about trans care or HRT. I'm talking about basic health care. I went into the hospital. Okay, I'm a man, but I still have my uterus, and nobody will do the operation uh to remove my uterus, which has fibroids and or sepsis. That's what we're looking at. There's a man named Robert Eads who died because nobody would help him um relieve himself of, I think he had cancer of the uterus, and they would not help him because he was a transgender man. So when I talk about casualties, I'm looking at laws in places like Georgia and Florida where you can refuse to treat people because it offends my religious sensibilities. So you're willing to kill somebody based on a book written by 6,000-year-old sheep herders. Is that what you're telling me? That's why I said there will be casualties, because people will use their fake faith to justify cruelty, bigotry, and in some cases, murder. That being said, we will win in the end. We will win because I personally believe that the American people want these shenanigans to stop, and they want our elected officials to work on things that really matter to the public. I don't know, like inflation, basic public transportation. Can we feed kids free lunch in school? Because you know the Republicans, they don't want kids to have free lunch. They don't even want kids to go to school. They want them to go to work in these factories, aka Sarah Huckabee Sanders. That being said, we will win, but it's going to be an expensive win. It's going to be expensive. And when I say expensive, I'm talking about the loss of not just life, but of liberty and the feeling of safety that Americans should feel, but they can't because other Americans have decided to wage war on them based on stupidity.
Okay, before I send this to Jack, I want to have a little shout out to your governor, who I think in 2028 should be the man that we're looking at as far as setting America in the direction that it needs to go. So that's my hope. And if you see Wes, let him know that I'm in favor of 2028. Get on the ballot, buddy. Okay, Jack. I don't think that you engage in the war as much as, say, Merrick does. But do you see it as one where we are at this time winning or losing? And do you, like Whitney and Merrick, feel that it's one that is ultimately winnable?
We're winning. Yeah, we're winning. Look, I'm just looking at
See,
it
I
from
feel that way
my
too. I feel that
well,
way too.
I'm in a very red state, like very, very red state. But I just got out of school. I graduated year before last. Wait, when did I graduate? 2022. Anyway, um, I came out in school. Everybody knew I was out. I didn't get any con I didn't have any consequences in my school. And maybe it was just because I had great friends, but I never heard a peep from any of my classmates or any teachers about me. And even the ones that I thought would maybe be a little about it, they were fine. they were fine. They asked me a lot of questions, and then that was it. They were like, oh, okay. And maybe I helped a little bit for them to like understand more about being transgender and the LGBTQ community. I hope I did anyway. It seemed like I did, maybe. I don't know. Not much, but I didn't do much, but what I did do, I think I did something for that school, perhaps, possibly. I see us winning. Yeah.
Okay, and I think what you're really referring to is your generation. Your
Yeah.
generation is what is going to have this thing winning, and you being part of that now, you're already seeing the victory
Yeah.
at hand.
Yeah, and I've grown up in school. I've been around so many Christian people as well, and they're all fine with it. Like I said, my best friends are both Christian, different denominations. I love them. They're my best friends. They're fine with it.
Yeah.
They're chill people.
Cool. All right, last question here. How do you feel now? Encouraged, scared, or both? I'm going to start off with you, Jack. You seem to be pretty encouraged. You don't seem to be scared at all. You think that you're in a good place and that we as a society are heading in the right direction. Did I characterize that correctly?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I'm encouraged. I think we're going in the right direction. It might take a little while. I don't think it's gonna take as well. Okay. I hope it doesn't take as long as maybe some of us think it might take. I think once the rest of Generation Z gets up to the voting age, I think we're really gonna make a bit of an impact here, for sure.
Okay, Merrick. Jack Jack's generation and her representation on this panel of that generation gives me kind of hope. And you're coming. I mean, you're old. You're not as old as me because I'm like ancient, but you're coming from a generation that's seen a lot of this oppression. But what do you think about her attitude that this is winnable?
Gen Z is on it. Generation Alpha's on it. They know what time it is. These are the same kids that are fighting climate change, and willing to put themselves on the line to save the planet. And they just want to live as free people. And I am hopeful for that. I'm not scared, but I'm watchful. When the orange clown was selected as president, I decided to get my passport, and I have my passport because I don't trust America. And Black people like me, who are opinionated, who uplifts marginalized people, we have often been the target of ire and violence. So I'm not going to stick around if the feather drops out the pillow, if you know what I'm saying. I do have plans. If I need to leave, I will, because I'm not going to give America my life. I'm just not. That being said, it's going to be blood, sweat, and tears, but we will win. And I do have faith in that generation, because one of the things that they are tired of is the hypocrisy of adults. They're tired. They see the handwriting on the wall. They see the hypocrisy and they're over it. And they just want to live as free people. And I also believe that generation, it is my hope that they will get rid of the electoral college and make this a true republic of the people, instead of, some shadow people that we don't even know saying, oh yeah, he or she won the state. Yeah, we need to get rid of that. And I'm hopeful that these folks not only turn out to vote, but that they run for Congress, like his Maxwell Frost,
Right.
ANC. They run for office and really change things. Like, we need a constitutional convention, but I believe that they are the kids to make it happen.
Well, I'm a little bit afraid of the Constitutional Convention just because of the possibility of that, it could be set up and run by the Republicans that are in charge of all these state legislatures. So I'm a little bit worried about that. But we do have to get rid of the Electoral College. And in addition to Maxwell Frost, there's two Justins from Tennessee. There's stars in the making as well. Okay, Whitney, encouraged, scared. How do you feel now? after this long discussion about this?
I mean, I don't really feel any different than I did at the beginning, but I do agree with everything Merrick said about Gen Z and Gen Alpha. I mean, I think that these kids are strong and smart and they're tired of the bullshit. And, you know, the fact that Gen Alpha is already on the move is just like mind blowing to me in the best way possible. You've got, you know, kids in elementary and middle school staging walkouts and protests. And it really warms my heart. And I guess it does make me feel hopeful and encouraged that there's hope for the future, even though right now is a horrific capitalist hellscape, you know?
That part.
Okay, I endorse this, and that means I guess I'm going to send this to Jack to say, you go and you go get your friends together and you take care of this country because us old folks have really fucked it up pretty bad.
We'll bring the snacks. We'll bring
It's-
snacks and water.
Yeah, and
Yes.
beverages,
Yes.
and beverages.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, panel, great discussion here, and thanks to everybody, Jack, Whitney, Merrick. I learned a lot, and that's what one of the purposes of this topic was, so I could learn what I don't know. So thanks all of you for coming and joining this wonderful discussion, and all you out there in Cyberland, thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time. Bye now.